First of all, thank you all for being here on such short notice. Earlier today, I informed Coach Jack Leggett that I would be making a change in leadership in our baseball program. After careful evaluation and review of the season and the projection of our program over the last few years, it was my decision to introduce a fresh approach to our program. Jack has meant so much to this program over the last 22 years as head coach. I could not do justice to the impact that he's made on our program. His contributions as an assistant to Hall of Fame coach Bill Wilhelm, followed by becoming a Hall of Fame coach himself, speak to these achievements. Many players have been the beneficiary of Jack's leadership and service, and for that, Clemson will always be grateful. This decision was not an easy one. There's no denying the successes of our program in the past have placed Clemson baseball in a position to compete for championships. So after my evaluation, it came down to this: I think we can be better. Clemson baseball is a premier brand and positioned well for the near future. Following the great work of coaches Wilhelm and Leggett, this is a program that's built on a solid foundation. We have high expectations for our baseball team, and we're going to find the right coach to continue to move that tradition of excellence. We need to inject some new momentum and create optimism around our baseball program. And I'm confident in our search for a new head coach that we'll find someone who will bring that excitement to our fans and our student athletes. With that, I'll take any questions you might have.
If you would raise your hand, we'll get your microphone so those watching and listening can hear the question.
Dan, was there an opportunity for Jack to remain, that he consented to certain changes or what have you, or can you provide some insight into that?
We have an end of the year evaluation of our coaches. I do that, have some feedback from the coach. After we had that conversation earlier in the week, kind of looking at things, we're staying we wanted to stay the same course, and that's the head coach's prerogative. I'd made the decision at that point in time to change direction.
Have you already started a search? Is that something that was put in motion prior to today, or and then when would you expect to have a search completed?
Well, first of all, this is not an easy day, and so the short answer to your question is no. And I would hope that today is about the great work that Jack has done over the last 24 years being here as part of the Clemson community. We'll get to the other. And there'll be time for looking at and moving forward with a replacement.
When you reached out to, I'm assuming, current players, former players, people in the program, what was the feedback you received from some people you talked to?
Well, certainly the current players that I had an opportunity to speak with, and by the way, I would expect no less of any of the student athletes here at Clemson. They were very supportive of their coach, and that again goes to the type of responsibility and organization that our baseball teams have. I think as I look outside beyond that group, it talked a little bit about our and I hate this word, but kind of a plateau and where we've trended over the last couple of years. College baseball is very difficult right now. Major League Baseball rules, NCAA rules have created some real parity within college baseball. But as I look beyond that, I really looked at, we have a great university, great history and tradition. We have good facilities about to get better. We play in one of the best leagues in the country. and where's Clemson's place there? And I think it needs to be at or near the top, competing for championships.
This university has had basically 2 baseball coaches in the last 60 years. How much did that factor into the decision at all, or is this simply about where Clemson baseball is right now and where it would be in, say, 2 or 3 years?
I think it's more here and forward. Certainly the history here and Jack's accomplishments and Coach Wilhelm's accomplishments are chronicled and are very noteworthy. But it's really about where we're moving on from here.
A year ago at this time, you had just as thorough an evaluation. You chose to keep Jack, and you outlined 4 changes. How would you say over the course of the last 12 months those 4 changes were executed?
I think they were, when I evaluate a coach, we talk back and forth and we have a dialogue, and those 4 things were part of that dialogue. Those were my best suggestions given my experiences on what might be able to help that program or other programs. I'm not going to sit down each day and use a check mark and say, did you accomplish this or did you not? I know the coach went out and talked to some other places. That was good. He's had more interaction with his student athletes. So I can't tell you, did we fill up that particular bucket with a full check mark? But at the end of the day, it was where we are today. And in my estimation, we needed to look forward and make a change.
Dan, what's the plan of transition now, especially with the assistant coaches and who's going to kind of control things until you get a new coach?
Bradley LaCroix, who is, as many of you know, is our chief recruiter, is going to be that key focal point moving forward. I've had an opportunity to sit and talk with Bradley. He has asked about the permanent position. I've encouraged him to apply for that position. So we'll see where that goes. But in the short run, it's going, a lot of the communication with recruits and whatnot will go through Bradley. Bradley Owens will also stay on board as the director of operations. Dan Pepicelli will be, his contract is up at the end of the month, but we would look to Dan to help in any transition period as well. But Bradley LaCroix will be the focal point.
As you undergo the search process, what are going to be some of the qualities that define the next baseball coach at Clemson?
I think that we have not exhausted that list yet, because to be real honest, this has been taking up all the time, coming to this point. I mean, certainly you want to have someone who has shown the ability to lead, to win games, to recruit quality student athletes, to be a great representative of Clemson. Those are all things that are important as we look to the next leader of the baseball program. So those are going to be just some, not an exhaustive list at all, because we haven't put all of that together, but we will in the coming days.